Hey, there you go. Perfect. Well, we're going. How's everybody doing? I don't know that we have many people watching. It's been a crazy few days here. We actually have very strong winds. Nikki said it was Wizard of Oz out here when she went in. She came out and helped me for a few moments. We had a busy yesterday. We filmed a bunch of stuff, which was great, but I'm playing catch up still. So much stuff to do. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you're not, it's not as windy as for you as it is here. I mean, it's pretty bad. Thankfully, we had our trees trimmed just a few weeks back, so we won't have, hopefully, any falling branches. There are some big trees around us, though, which could affect us, but hopefully not a problem. We've been really busy. So much stuff happening. And it's, you know, new year, lots of stuff to do. Hopefully it'll be good. My phone is buzzing. Oh yeah. My friend is, we have our, I think I mentioned this on stream recently. He has a Plex server. You know, we mostly are just trying to keep our TV shows and movies that we have together. And it's like, it's not easy, ultimately. I think, oh, this is so great, and I will use this. And the issue is, you run into technical problems. Like I'm sure there's ways, if I were a Python programmer, I could make some tools to save my data that I do, because there's a lot of, like, I'm very particular with the movie, I think I mentioned this the other day, movie posters that I use, and the meta tags. I'm not so crazy, but I mean, I'm not so ridiculous about the meta tags because they're generally the same as what I have, but it's still crazy. Hey, Robert Fidel. So yeah, it's a fun thing, and I love it. But like, Nikki wanted to murder me at one point because I was so particular about the tags, and I honestly feel if you can, well, I say that this as not being honest with myself, but truthfully, you probably shouldn't do that. If you decide to do something like that, you should just let the program do it, so that if you ever have to rebuild the library, it's just going to be roughly the same. The issue is, like, so Brian and I are both into 3D movies. We buy lots of, I buy lots, many more than I probably need. I buy the weirdest. So there's a 3D archive or something like that, based here in LA. The guy that runs it is been doing it for ages and running 3D film festivals. And so they restore a bunch of stuff. So I buy just about everything they do, if I can find it. I backed a Kickstarter for a movie called Domo Arigato, which I'd never heard of. And I think it debuted in Seattle. And I don't know if it played anywhere else. And it was from late 60s, early 70s, I think. So, you know, that was when there was no 3D stuff really happening. There was a kind of a resurgence, I think, in the later 70s, because I don't have like 3D coming at you. I remember that. I don't really remember that movie. I remember in the movie, gosh, what was that movie called? It's the Cyrano de Bergerac movie with Steve Martin, and he has a very pointy nose, and he turns the camera, and one of the guys goes, "3D coming at you." But I don't think I ever saw it, so I don't have that one, and I don't know that they restored that. And I buy other ones that aren't theirs, but he and I both have that, and it's like, you have that plus you have the regular version of the movie, and so you have to have multiple versions, and you're just trying to make yourself miserable. I have a box of discs to burn, but I need to expand storage first. Roxanne, there you go. It is worth it. I will tell you, the biggest treat is for Nikki and me is when we are traveling, we can hook into our Plex server and watch a show if we want to, movie or something like that. I'm really a movie guy. We were talking about recently, and I can't remember what the question was, but I'm like, I think it was something that Aldi was saying, and I'm like, you know, I didn't watch TV. I really, for a long time, probably for 10 years, I didn't watch TV. And then Nikki and my friend TC, invited me over. This is when my friend TC was trying to get Nikki and I together. And he invited, we came over for dinner, and then we watched some shows, and I actually started to enjoy some of those shows. So, and I don't even remember what all they were, but, and that was 30 years ago, because I know one of them was Friends, like had just recently debuted. And I liked that one for a little while, but I'm definitely not a crazy TV person. I still appreciate some shows. We just had, one of our favorite shows, What We Do in the Shadows. We really loved the movie when it came out, and when they were doing the TV show, I'm like, oh, come on, you're not going to use the guys, which, you can't blame them. Taika Waititi was going on to massive success, so he did not have the time to really spend on it. But Jermaine Clement, who I love from Flight of the Conchords, he ran the show for a while, and it was great. I really liked the show. It's not perfect, but it was fun, and I'm sad to see it go, Very frustrating. Anyway, let's see here. Wow, I don't know that you can hear the wind, but holy cow, I can hear it. Very, very strong. I worked I worked on painting some. I didn't have as much time as so we put out a game night, date night this morning, which we haven't done for 2 months, which is terrible. We want to do them regularly. We just ran into so many problems. October, Nikki, we were able to run up until October, and then we were supposed to do 3 total episodes, the way our schedule works, and we could not do them. Nikki had a tough cough, and we just couldn't film with her coughing. And so, we should actually kind of mix up, maybe have some others come in for date night occasionally, but it just is bad time. So then, November we went to BGCon, then Nikki got sick again with a terrible cough and went into December. So we put out the one episode we shot, I think when we came home from Germany. We did Radlands. So then today we put out Jekyll and Hyde versus Scotland Yard, which is very good. Trick-taking game. We actually there's a couple of mistakes in the game, which I point out, and there could be more for all I know, but the real issue was we had a couple moves where the trump, it's not really trump cards, they're called potion cards, and they interact with the game, and we were worried about the interaction, but we weren't thinking on a couple of turns, we weren't thinking about the number value of the cards, which determines it has a value. They're plus cards, so it's 3, 4, 5, and 6 plus. Each one is plus. So if you play over another 3, 4, 5, or 6, it's higher because of the plus. And so we fouled that up a couple times. I think 2 times it should have gone to the city, so it's basically a 3-hand game of a trick-taking game. And then 1 time I think I should have won it. But it did, believe me, it's an interesting episode to watch, and the game is really neat, but the ones that the city won didn't help us, that should have won didn't help us, and the one that I probably should have gotten wouldn't have helped us either. It's the way I feel about those games. I love cooperative games, but in my opinion, you should lose cooperative games the first time, for sure. Like, you have to work, first of all, you need to understand the system, and then secondly, you just need to have the right amount of luck and things happen to make that work. It's especially with a trick-taking game, you can have all kinds of crazy stuff happen. But it's great, it's inexpensive, and I'm very happy that 25th Century Games put it out in the US. It's from Mandu. I want to play the original game. I guess we can play the original game, which is Versus, just Jekyll and Hyde, with the same game, but I think you reduce the values of the potions cards. So we have to try it out just to see what that's like. Although it's probably the same thing. It's interesting. So the original designer is on this game. I don't know if he actually did it, but then there's another designer, French designer, on there as well. So it's kind of interesting that that system was picked up, and I'm not really sure. There's so much stuff coming out from Mandu, and what's amazing is Vincent Dutray, who I believe is based in Korea, I know he's based in Korea, is involved in a lot of those games. It's great. His art is fantastic. So let me see. Let's cut to the table and show. I've got to get to the right. Man, the phone is buzzing. It was not buzzing at all. I had to get up early though. So yeah, I was saying we did that episode. I had to edit it because we were in such a rush. We really wanted to. Nikki actually wants to edit those things, but she was preparing for yesterday's filming. We had several games we wanted to do, and she was going to learn how to play several of them, which was great. So I didn't want her to have to deal with the editing because I know it's going to be, you know, it's not easy. So here we go. There's the table. I did not fully clean this. So yeah, you can see when it dries, it just flakes. Now this one was very thin, so I don't want to get it wet because it actually, although getting it wet is fine, but to clean it up, I really love the fidget popper thing for this, especially the contrast paints. And I occasionally do regular acrylics in here. Let's see if I can get that to bump out as I hit it on the side of the trash can. Yeah, mostly. Now I don't need to reuse that little well right now. It's fine, I got tons of them here. But it is nice. I don't want the flakes to get into other paint. So that is the one thing. But I generally, well here, I might as well do it. So let me get it a little bit wet here. And you can just clean it up very, very quickly. It does a great job. Hey Egon, how you doing? We're just talking, we love going to Germany, and we particularly love German bread. It is one of the things that people, when they come to the United States, are like, gosh, you guys have terrible bread. And it's not all bad, but it's not great. There's just I don't understand, I love it, but I don't understand the culture of it. There's a lot of bakeries in Germany, which is awesome. And we just love it. But I watch a YouTuber, Laura Kampf, who's from Cologne, and she moved here. And it's funny to see. I liked watching the show because I like her show. I like the stuff she does on YouTube. But I particularly liked it because I liked hearing the German speakers speaking English. I like the accents. It's fun. It reminds me of our friends in Cologne and in Bonn. And so now she's here, and so she's still speaking with her accent. She's got much better English than some of the folks. Her videographer, who's still in Germany, is great, Felix. And so it was fun to hear them talking. There was one time she's like, if you bought this house, and he like, because they were having so many problems with this house they're restoring, and he starts running away. It's like, and you could just see all the troubles they had. It was crazy. But we like going. It's tough because it is worth us to go to Germany at Spiel, as far as BGG goes, because we meet with a lot of publishers and talk about advertising stuff with us. We do mostly, you know, I focus on the videos that we do for BGG, the how to plays and in focus and stuff like that, and any kind of live streaming stuff. Because we are sponsored for GameNight, but we don't take. I mean, we take suggestions. If there's a game that you think is cool, you know, and we don't know about it, because we really don't know about everything. And I actually encourage publishers to let us know if you think there's something that might work for us. But we don't do sponsors for plays because we feel that it wouldn't let us be honest with ourselves. You know what I mean? We would constantly be thinking, well, they're paying us. And I don't want that to happen. From the very beginning on our show, it was like, look, you can say whether you don't care for the game. I don't like hate, because, you know, I don't really hate any games. But additionally, I feel games are not necessarily for everybody. You know, I have people, it's funny to see the comments and they're like telling me how much they don't like the game. I'm like, well, that's okay. Nobody said you had to like it. We are just showing you what we're excited about. What we're excited about is different from what you're excited about. We, particularly for Game Night, don't necessarily do massive long games. We did do the Harry Potter Monster Book of Monsters expansion, Battle for Hogwarts one, with Deborah, because she loves that game. She played all of the expansions. I don't think she's played the Charms and Potions or whatever it was many times, but she played for 300 hours during the pandemic. She actually built an online version of the game in, I think, Roll20, so she could play with her friends. And so she wanted to do that. She's like, you guys haven't done it as an episode. I'm like, oh, we did it all right. But we agreed we'll do one of the expansions. And so it was fun. But like, that was forever. But that's not really a deep game. I don't remember the last one we've done, but we might have done, I don't know. The one that was crazy, and it's not even that crazy of a game, it's just a lot of interactions which you can screw up, is Ark Nova, which we loved. But that was a little challenging for us to film, and it took some time. Let's see here. So I worked on I'm talking to you without actually having anything in front of me. I worked on the Shang-Chi. I do kind of like that they look like McDonald's characters with colors. So these two on the right here I believe were airbrushed undercoating at the same time. So they look pretty much the same. This one here was rattle canned by Scott, and I need to touch up some stuff I see there. I like the bright colors. I will tell you. I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I like the comic book aspect of these things, but I don't have a ton of them right by me. I do have some of the other ones, but most of mine are darker. Partly because I cannot get the brightness there. I need to go to, there's a hobby store here semi-locally that might have it, although I don't know what's happening. So the paint I want to buy is like the Vallejo white primer, which I do not need, to be frank with you. I have, actually I could probably, what I really probably should do is get, so I have this, and I use so little white. So this is a 16-ounce bottle I bought years ago now. I've used this much, and when I say I use that much, that's where the line's at, but the reality is the bottle probably wasn't. Now, it leaked, there was problems, so it might have been close to full, I don't know. I think they have, I don't know what happened on it. I think they have like a cap, but it broke the, it wasn't this one that broke actually. This one leaked, but this one broke. Like the top was broken, and so they don't actually have like a paper cap on these, they had a plastic plug. And so this one didn't leak, but now this one, I've used a good third of it, almost a third. And that's the black undercoat. I use that a lot. So I don't need the white, but maybe I'll just buy, I used Vallejo's Dead White, which is a straight white, to zenithal these minis when I was in Germany in October. I was very excited to paint these. And so the white was phenomenal, the Vallejo white. So I normally use, actually what I should try to use before I even go out and buy more is just to see what priming with the white that I have. I frankly need another bottle of it too. I have the Pro Acro white, which is a great white, but I've had, wow, oh that's the transparent white. Still sounds thick. It's crazy. I don't know what's going on with these. I've had no problems with these paints. Now this one's running thin because it was coagulating. The white pigment was coagulating. So it's probably temperature. I mean, the studio is not conditioned when we're not in here. And so maybe, the house is a little bit more stable, but it's okay now. I've got it kind of going, but I should try using the white from this. And Pro Acryl has primers too. I should experiment, but I was blown away about how good that Vallejo was. But the problem is I heard that they were having a strike. There was a safety issues and payment issues, and people were frustrated. And I was like, oh, bummer. You don't want them to suffer. Anyway, so these guys are mostly done, I think. I do need to do their eyes. I worked on the nunchucks, which was cool. See here. Jim says, I usually play video games on Xbox One. The only board game I actually have is Scrabble. Ah, that's fun though. It seems like every other bottle of white Stynylrez I get needs to be returned. Really? That's a bummer. I've only ever bought one, and I bought the big one. I bought a 16, which was insane. And I do believe I didn't buy it during the winter months. They claim you can't, if it gets too cold, it's a problem. Now, that would be the case with this, right? I mean, it's potentially getting cold. This really sounds thick. This is the transparent white. But yeah, it's a bummer. Harry Potter episode came, oh, that's awesome. Thanks so much, Marco. We actually loved it, and it was great, and Deborah did a really great job teaching it, and a pretty good job, like when you teach the game, you kind of have to monitor it, and sometimes it doesn't happen because it could be complicated and stuff. And so, Nikki was bummed with herself on something where she didn't catch it. I'm like, it's too hard. We try, and Dave tries really hard to pay attention because he's the one that really. So I don't know if you know, but on our show, we generally like at least some of the participants to have not played the game in advance because we want people to see how difficult it is to grok somewhat. I mean, we are experienced gamers. I don't necessarily think we're the greatest gamers, but yeah, it's sometimes hard to get the game. So that's what we shoot for. But Deborah did a great job. We had only a couple, I think, real mistakes. There was one guy that gave a huge, first of all, I didn't know who Deborah was, the lady who taught the game, but a huge list of things that were either good and bad. Like he said, some things worked against you, some weren't. I'm like, I think the teach was fine. It's just hard to catch everything in the play. Deborah has massive knowledge of that game, but she doesn't see everything happening necessarily. So it's challenging. Let's see here. Well, Jim, you should try some other games. We have a game, a fun, light game coming soon. We kind of been holding on to it. We filmed it recently. It has Deborah and Dave in it, but it's a game called Duck and Cover, which was out of stock. Actually, let me see it if that's in stock. We really want to feature it. We did do it on the live stream. Let's see here. I go to Amazon, which isn't always the best choice. So I don't know if I'm pretty certain it's been picked up by Asmodee North America. So it might be at Miniature Market. What is that an alarm? It is. So there's a fire in our area. I might need to check out what's going on. It says it's in our area. That would be bad. So Duck and Cover is not available at Amazon right now. Let me look at Miniature Market. It's kind of, and it's meant to be played. I mean, you can play it with two. Totally, it's fun. But it can be played with up to 7 in the box, the way the game is. And it's just basically like a solitaire game, but the way the game works is you're trying to work together. You know, I mean, it's pretty awesome. You know what, I'm kind of nervous about this fire alert, although it's only on one phone. I have not received it on this one yet. I might go just take a peek. Let me see here. I'll wait a moment, see until my phone gives it to me. I have a billion phones, so one of my older phones is the one that's giving me the notification. So let me go to Miniature Market. Let's see. Nikki's very good at checking all that stuff. You know, keeping an eye on what's happening around. I'm not so great. But yeah, Duck and Cover is fun and it's not expensive. I'm sure it's sold out at Miniature Market though. There it is, pre-order. So I wonder when they think they'll get it. January. It's great. It's done by Captain Games. Captain Games is, it's not as clever as for a player, making you feel clever as Scrabble, but it's really fun and it scales to a lot of people. There's a little expansion you can get. They were giving it away at Essen, and maybe a few of them. They were at BGG Con as well. But it's a pretty solid little game, really fun. Yeah, the crazy thing about that Harry Potter is it's one of our longest episodes because we went full. Now, we only did the one chapter. I don't remember how much we did in, I think we might have skipped the easiest chapter when we did the original game on the show with Aaron and Dave. And, you know, it was funny because Aaron had never seen any of the Harry Potter stuff. You know, it's kids. I enjoy it. I really enjoy those movies and the books. I read the books as well. But I can see why people wouldn't care for it. But it was funny because he worked for the movie studio. And I'm like, oh, you didn't see this? At the time he was working there. And I just thought maybe that you might go see it or something. I mean, he was in exhibitions, so who knows. Anyway, let's see here. I'm going to try to do the eyes. Hey, Jim, no problem. I mean, Jim, there's a lot of games I can recommend, but that one's a fun one, and it's light, and you play it very quickly. It's literally, you have 12 cards, and you're just moving them around, trying to get down to one pile. And it's amazing when it works, and it's fun because you are doing your own individual pile, but the others, you want them to like be doing different things, because the way the round ends is when you have so many cards that everybody it's quacking. When you quack, you can't play that card. You can't move that card because it's hidden. And if everybody says quack, then that's one of the cards that counts to the end of the round. You want it to go as long as possible. So it's funny, with the 2-player game, I think you get to do, you get to do 9 cards that quack. With a 9-player game, you get to do 2 cards that quack. Now, the benefit of that is, of course, is a lot more, people are doing different things. So you have 9 people making different decisions, so it sometimes extends it. But it feels like it definitely ends quicker with the 7 players is the box, and then there's 2 additional ones. But I think you could buy a second game if you really love it and just play with more. I mean, I don't know dynamically what it would do. Let's say you doubled the players, so you had 14 if you used 2 boxes, and you just went down to, you just followed the rules for 7, which would mean 4 cards that fail. I don't know how that works. But it might be totally fine. It's pretty awesome, though. It's pretty awesome. And it's just a fun, light game. Deborah, everybody that's played it's like, wow, this is really good. There is another game that uses that element called, our friend Gavin mentioned it on the live stream when we played on that live stream. We played it with a lot of people. I think we did like 8, maybe more. We had a lot of people. Gavin said it reminded him of Food Chain, not Magnate, Food Chain. I mean, it's a game from Button Shy Games. Food Chain Island. I think that has like special powers on the cards, but it does sort of work like that. Food Chain Island is designed by Scott Alms, and he's an interesting designer. I really like. He is very good at like smaller games, but good. He's done good big games too. It's very interesting. So I have some of the black. For whatever reason, that one's doing fine. But I do love what I love. So here's the funny thing about Duck and Cover. It's very simple, but like the first round, not everybody, but a lot of people, I was one of those, like I was a little confused. I'm like, what? And then, but everybody else I've said since then, they're like, I don't get this. I'm like, don't worry, be patient, do your best, we'll help you out. And then the next, and every time, next round, they're just kicking it, doing a great job. And it's a really fun game. I'm really, I love that they, it's one of those games you're like, we played it in prototype, which we don't normally do, but it was pretty much done. I don't know if the special power cards were not special, but the special cards were all the same. But we both were like, Nikki actually got it right away. She was killing. I think she won the first game we played. I did not. But that's cool. I mean, you don't have to win everything. You definitely want to try. But it was amazing. We had a great game of it. I got to change my glasses. I can't see this close. It's a nice light game, and people everybody's had fun with it. We played with the family, friends, and the son was like, "Is this game in like tournament play?" I'm like, because he didn't get it at first. I'm like, "Don't worry, you'll be fine. Just be patient." And then he was loving it. It was funny. So what I do is basically I'm giving them eyeliner, and I paint black. I kind of feel like I'm doing it a little big. It's okay though. I don't feel big eyes is a problem, because the way they do the illustrations, I mean, these minis are huge, really, ultimately. And it's one of the things I love about them for beginning painters, because they encourage you to go all in on it, right? And you can develop your skills. Thanks so much for the follow, Slicer THX. I love that they encourage you to do more detail. Now, these are not highly detailed models. I mean, I showed you these earlier. Let's look at this one. Number one, their scale is massively different. But yeah, Warhammer stuff. This is Warhammer Underworlds, and I believe they are in the I know they're in the standard Warhammer game, Warhammer Age of Sigmar. So you know, a lot more detail, but you can get some fantastic results with these larger minis, and it just is like it gets you used to painting. Like the little stripes on his shirt are they're small, pretty darn small, but you know, I painted them. I put a little bit of highlights on the little. You know, so what I did in this one, because the way I paint these, you know, is I prime them grayscale. I paint them black, then gray at a 45-degree angle, and then white from above. And then wow, I think I messed up his eye there. Boo. And then I do the white from above. So you get some of those things, but what I did is I came back in before I painted him and just put some bright white on the little folds to give it a little bit of variety down the shirt there, and it worked pretty great. Let's see here if I can fix this thing on his eye. I'm very disappointed in myself. It's hard though, and I'm talking and I do much. Nikki's like, it's got to be because you're on stream, but I generally have a tougher time with eyes on the stream than I do when I'm painting on my own. I really want to show the eye painting. I think it might be have to do with the hand placement. I generally will paint more close to the desktop if I'm just painting. I mean, I could do that here too, but I can't. I end up putting my head in the shot, which is a problem, but I can do most of it. Wow. Okay, well, let me paint that again and see if I can fix that. But one thing you can do before you paint faces, I mean, once you paint like so if you're doing it like I'm doing it, where you have the zenithal thing, or if you're doing it with acrylics, just standard acrylics, where you paint the skin a certain tone, and then, you know, you can do some layering and glazing to get better, you know, shading. You don't have to do this style of stuff, but I do love the speed paint stuff and the contrast paints because I like the results, and you can get quick. Like I'm doing 3 of these, and it's not much longer than doing 1. And that's the case with a lot of painting minis. If you do, you know, like assembly line kind of a situation where you're painting multiple ones at the same time, you know, one is drying while you're working on the next one. It's not that much tremendous amount much more time. I think I'm gonna have to just touch that up after the fact because it's just too. You need a paper towel. It's just. I'll use this. There's some darkness. I had let the flesh tone pool a bit on the eye, and so it does look kind of strange. And I will say, if you look at do I have that up? I can't show it, but. He has some different kind of eye shape. His eyebrows are huge on the. So you know, originally when the Big Child Creative is painting these, they are 3D prints of the minis they sculpt, and they have large eyes. You know, I mean, I love it too. I think they look great. I can't do them that well. Let's see here. We have, well, as you were seeing, I did the electro, not this one. Where's she at? She's gray. She's gray. She's small. I put her down. Wow. I'm looking right at one. Oh, here it is. I mean, so I painted her face first, right? And it turned out pretty good. It's a little extreme on this eye, but I'm not going to sweat it because I end up just messing it up more. But they definitely look a little different, some of them, in the 3D prints. But I understand, you know, they're definitely doing a lot of stuff to get these together. So the downer is on the latest DC United. They have not given the painted pictures. They have some. I was looking at, they have a new They have a new box one coming called DC United. It's not Husk, I don't think, but I can't remember. It's a comic book that I didn't know, so I was like, but that's going to be the box, the first box that comes out for the, like a main game box that comes out for it before the Kickstarter ships, and they told everybody in advance that that was going to happen, trying not to upset everybody, because they did it after the fact. On the very first one, they said that the first box, the main game box, would be out before, and if you wanted it, you had to pay more money, or you had to wait until the whole run. And I foolishly thought, well, I want it. And then I heard that the game was like, oh, it's not what, you know. And it's like, it was Eric Lang telling me, he's like, don't expect too much from it. But I mean, we love the game. As soon as I played the game, I'm like, man, I should have been painting these and on this already, because this is great. But he just didn't want, you know, your expectations. So, you know, Eric is a heavier game designer. Oh man, we're going to try to play one of his games this weekend. He's a heavier game designer, but he is not at the same time. He worked with Exploding Kittens for a couple of years, which was after his CMON stuff, and he wanted to do that. He wanted to do something different. And I think the latest, that escalated quickly, which is the a recent Exploding Kittens game that was a redo, you know, not a reimplementation. It's just it was the localization, but they changed it a little bit, of the game Top 10 from Cocktail Games in France, and it was nominated for and it was also in German. It was nominated for an SDJ. It did not win, but you know, Eric worked on that because he said it was going to be a while before it came out. I was like, oh, that's a bummer, because you know, I wanted people. We played it on the show. We play all the stuff that's nominated, and we played it, and people were like, how do we get this? And I'm like, I don't know. The only way we were able to do it is the Russian, wow. The French publisher gave us cards. They gave us translations. And, you know, it's not as ideal when it's a translation, because you have kind of references that might not work, and there was definitely some more mature subjects in that one. And there was a night version that they gave us as well, or a After Dark version or something like that. But I'm happy that it came out. We played it on our on the 21st of December. We had, gosh darn, the phone is just buzzing. On the 21st of December, we did a stream with, you know, 10 people or 12 people. We played it with them, and it was great. It was great to play it again. I forgot how much I really liked it. I mean, I knew I liked it, but I just forgot what I liked about it so much. And I'm really glad that they finally got it out. I think it's only been 2 years, a year and a half or something like that, but it's still a while. So I'm going to try to fix that. I kind of painted it low now. So I was saying, I actually didn't get to the point. You can varnish the face so that it's easier to clean up your mistakes. You just have to be patient, because once you clean it up and it's wet, you shouldn't paint over it till it dries completely, because it just flows everywhere. Now again, if you've already varnished it, you can fix it pretty easily. I feel like I don't have enough black there. I'm looking and I see a little bit of the eye, and that will be, you know, underside of the eye, which will help make it so it's a little larger. And I like the larger eyes on these. They're fun. The chibi stuff. I actually have another chibi game I want to paint. Chibi game. It's the Super Dungeon Explorer. They have some great minis, and I have several of those. And I would love to get that going one of these days. It's just more stuff to paint. I actually have kind of freaked out about how much I have to do. in general, because I'm trying to do all these for Scott and another friend of mine, for Aldi and another friend of mine, and I don't mind. I mean, painting the same thing is not a big deal to me. Like I said, it is not. It's easy, and you get a lot done when you do it this way. And they're not going to paint them. I mean, I know Scott won't paint them. He just doesn't have the time. He had fun, and when we were actually getting the minis together to ship to me, he was like, "Oh man, I kind of want to do them." I'm like, well, you can, but he just knows that he just isn't going to. He had fun. We both had a good time. We were painting him in 2021 during the pandemic on stream, and it was fun. And only I continued. I'm trying to drop it. Be careful with the minis. I've had problems. I broke Baron Zemo the other day because somebody on the stream was asking for me to show some of the other ones, which was cool. But one of them popped out and it fell and it broke at the ankles. And I've had a couple of issues with that. It's not fun. These are the first edition, so I know mine are when it was first kickstarted. I don't know about my friend Dan's. His might have been at the second run where they had new plastic. Because on the X-Men one, I've painted the first 10 X-Men ones, they're a different plastic. They may be fragile too. They're harder, which I actually like harder plastic. I mean, believe me, I've had Games Workshop ones fall and break an arm off and stuff like that. But these are assembled already, and they use a different kind of glue. It's a different kind of plastic. I can't use. Somebody on the stream the other day was like, "You should use this glue," and I'm like, "I have that glue, and it doesn't work, unfortunately." I don't know what this plastic is. I don't know if it's ABS. I don't think so. And there is some cement for that, for ABS. I would actually like to get it for some of the other projects I end up working on, 3D printed stuff and things like that. Because this glue also doesn't work for 3D printed with filament. Now, ABS glue would only work with ABS. I don't know what you would use for PETG and PLA. I mean, obviously I use super glue if I really want to glue those. It's interesting, you can see this shoulder the other one had even a bigger gap. And that they're just not assembled well. So part of me, these are not that complicated to assemble. Part of me just wishes they'd let us assemble them, but that is not what the game does. I did finally get some Milliput, and I will probably try to fill some things on some of the future ones. Hilariously, I didn't buy it from Amazon because I only could find multiple tubes of it, or multiple boxes of it, and I didn't need multiple. I'm going to be hard enough getting through the one package I have. And then after I bought this at a local store for a premium, because I'm like, I could have probably paid almost that much money for 2 boxes, but I'm like, I don't need 2 boxes. I really can't order that, and I don't have any friends that I could just give it to. If Nick Murphy was still in town, I would give it to him. I mean, I could always send those guys stuff too, but I always was sharing stuff with him because I just have too much on some things. But yeah, I'll try it because I didn't have it when I kept holding off, like waiting to see if I could get it or go to a local store. And there's a local store in Burbank, which is not that far away, but we're just not over there enough. That looks cool though. I usually give everybody else the nice ones. I mean, if there's a variety of variants in them, I'm not too worried about them for myself, especially because I could always repaint it if I want to. Now this one is very dark. That's because he was primed differently. So speaking of 3D movies, I purchased from Japan the Deadpool and Wolverine DVD because it was offered in 3D there, and the package you get from them, it's, you know, Disney in Japan, is. So I did it pretty quickly there. This actually has a lot of paint on it because it's a rattle can. It's a different kind of paint. So now I have to be patient and let it dry. Thanks for the follow, Elephantastico. There we go. 1900. But yeah, I got the Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine, and it looks. I have not watched the 3D movie yet, but I did get it onto my Plex server, and my mom is the one person I really share my system with, because she's by herself and she can't find enough things to watch, and so she's back to checking out the stuff on my machine, and she's like, "Oh, the 3D ones are weird to watch." I'm like, "Yeah, you're not meant to watch those because you don't have a 3D TV." So she watched it. She likes Ryan Reynolds, and I think she likes Hugh Jackman as well. She goes, "You know, there were two pictures on top of each other." I'm like, "Yeah, that's so that it can be on 3D TV." So I did put the regular one up there too. So you can see here, it's got a different. Now I decided to leave it on this one. I kind of like it. I do like the rattle can results you get. I've said before, when Uncle Adam he did a stream for us during the pandemic where he painted Marvel United, and he was doing the Zenithal highlighting. I'm like, oh man, that is what I should do. So I think he did that maybe on the Comic-Con stream. Then when we had our stream in November for BGG-Con in 2020, Virtual Con is what it was called, he did some stuff from Hellboy, and he rattle can primed these, you know, troops that are like multiples of them, and it made the coats look like wool coats. It looked great. But additionally, he was doing with the paints, which I did not think of. I've done zenithal highlighting because I use it as an idea. You know, when you look at it, you can see the shading and do your painting like that, right? It's a cool way to do that and get neat results. But when you're doing the speed paint or the contrast paint, the paint is transparent mostly, and the shading is what you let the undercoating do the shading, and that's how you're able to work fast and get some things to look good. I mean, I know I showed these. I had almost finished them, and they're still not quite done. Do you like the multiverse characters? I do. I don't know a ton of the multiverse stuff. I actually don't love the multiverse stuff as a story idea. I don't hate it, but I'm just frustrated because nobody can die. You know what I mean? They can be back. I am intrigued to see what they're going to do with Robert Downey Jr. for the new Avengers movies. Oh yeah, I didn't paint the batons yet. The ends. But yeah, this was all shaded by the zenithal. This one was literally just the red, and I used the ball red from that Games Workshop sent me. They sent me the second wave of paints, which was, and they were like, "Do you want them?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yes, I'd love to have them," because I had bought the bulk of the original wave. I think I missed 7 bottles. I really need to buy the rest of them. I don't necessarily have a ton of room for them. Maybe up there? No, I don't. So maybe I won't buy them. But I ended up liking, people were saying, initially I didn't buy ones that people were saying weren't very good, but I've learned how to use them for myself, which is because I'm doing the undercoating as the shading, I then usually will prime, I'll use I don't have the ultramarine. People are like, it's not a good color. Ultramarine's blue or whatever. And the way I do it is I use the contrast medium, so this stuff here in the bottles, I use that to reduce the intensity of the paint. So the blue isn't going to use the contrast aspect of it. I mean, I definitely use the contrast aspect many times, but for some things like flesh, I definitely use it because I was actually disappointed with the Gilliman flesh, which is the GW skin tone, and it's a great color. But initially I was like, this is too dark. I mean, and you know, I was trying to thin it with water, and I had the contrast medium. I don't know what I was thinking. And then I used it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the best paint, because it does, I do from, you know, super pale people to super dark people with the one paint. It's amazing. I keep losing Electra. I know it's because I have my glasses on and I can't see everything. But yeah, she's pretty pale there. I'll probably put a little bit more color on her face. Yeah, this one's shiny too. This, I don't know, I thought maybe I just used the satin, but I thought I used the, I have 3 different AK Interactive varnishes. I have ultra matte, matte, and satin. I don't have a gloss. I would like to have a gloss, but the problem is with gloss, I don't need a large bottle of it because I don't use a lot of gloss. Gloss is the most durable. You get better results if you're going to handle stuff a lot. One of the things you could do is you could put on a gloss and then put on a matte varnish on top of that. I don't know. It's like, to me, it's like you want to get them to look as solid as you can, but without a tremendous amount of time. And I love it. I just am kind of afraid because I think each one of those campaigns, the newest ones, are like 100 or more. The first one was not 100 minis. So I have that many times. Now I've done more of the ones for myself because I was working on mine for a long time. But now I've got Scott's, Aldi's, and my friends and mine. Woof, I'm trying to get on his cheek and I don't want it on his cheek. I think I don't have enough moisture in here. I actually have, so on my wet palette, I actually have black and white, and I have a little pool of water. It's a little close. So this isn't actually, I don't have enough water in the thing. I didn't actually add more. I will add more. It tends to get, the moisture keeps the paint flowing, and these paints from Pro Acryl Monument Hobbies are a little thinner. Which I like because I don't need a ton of thinning to do, but you want to keep them hydrated so that it stays workable while you're using it. Now, I don't, especially recently, I don't count on using that other paint. I just never cleaned my palette. Really, a little bit I did. So the paper I'm using, essentially, it's not really, I mean, it's paper. They call them hydration membranes. You can use them from 4 to 10 times, they claim. I've easily used them that many times, and now I'm cleaning it every time because my issue is mildew. Like, we don't generally have a problem with it. If I keep it in the refrigerator, it's generally not too bad, but I had mildew the other day and I was like, what is happening? So it kind of, I think it ruined a sponge. I didn't want to take a chance with it, so I tossed the sponge, and this is a brand new sponge. So now what I'm doing is I just run the sponge, I completely wring it when I'm done. I rinse off this paper. Wow, there you go again. I wonder where this is at. I mean, winds, it's always, and fires, I don't understand how we have fires all the time when we have really strong winds. We have not had a crazy fire season this year in LA County. We've had some fires around this periphery, and that's not great. I'm gonna have Nikki, let me message her real quick, see what we're doing here. I'm not getting the notifications on these other phones. So it's the other phone, the old phone is, I'm using it for music. So it may not be close to me. It may not be actually, since I'm not using cell service on that. she's busy today too. Got a lot to do. But yeah, it's kind of weird. We had when we were going to BGG Con, I think in 2019, we had a fire warning. I didn't know what it was. We got a phone call at our house. That would be probably what we would get, actually. That should be the real thing I should pay attention to. We got a warning. It said, our phone pronounces what the call is, and it said code red, and it was codered. We're like, what? I mean, we had gone to sleep. We're getting ready to get up early for a flight the next morning. I'm like, what is codered? And I'm like, oh my gosh, code red. And it was very close. Not that close, but close enough. And it wasn't windy like this. But Nikki's parents, we went to a game store in their neighborhood that day. And they had to be evacuated, and so they came to our house. So I'm still trying to sleep because I have to like get us going, but I had Nikki keeping an eye on things, so I slept for a few more hours. Whenever we leave, we always end up having a late, we get started late, which is frustrating. But anyway, go to bed too dang late. So her parents came to the house, and so they stayed with her for a while, and then they left before I got back up. They were like, it had cleared out or whatever. But we had gone later to look at where that fire was, and it had burned all around that game store, all the way around, because it's neighborhood all around there, and it was a mess. Now her parents are not that close to that. They're close, but not that close to that. And, but yeah, it was scary. And so it was down the block from us, not the block, a couple blocks in the hills, and we are at the very edge of the hills. And so yeah, it's not great. We do have smoke detectors, but we don't have fire prevention. We don't have sprinklers. Not many homes have sprinklers, at least here in LA. Maybe the large ones do. But yeah, so when we were leaving, we flew out that day, and we saw, plumes of smoke from 4 or 5 fires as we were flying out across the city. It's just crazy. And there's, what are you going to do? It's really frustrating. And, sometimes it's arsonists, like these people that just get so worked up about it. Or down, that's actually the other real big danger with the big fires where it's super windy. It's down power lines. We don't, our neighbor actually does have power lines above, which is unfortunate. That's cool. I mean, I have the alert notification on the other phone, for sure. When we go to Dallas, there's a lot of Amber alerts. We have them here too, don't get me wrong, but there's many more, I feel like. It's like whenever we're in Dallas, but it's also near the holidays often, and that could be part of the problem. Somebody, it's a parent trying to be with their kids, which is sad. Okay, I'm using a needle, airbrush needle to poke some of this stuff when I get a little too. I can scrape it off while it's still wet, and usually it comes out just fine. Now the whites of his eyes are a little too small in my opinion. Nikki buzzed me, I think, here. Yep. I need to check where my mom's in the valley as well, and Nikki's parents are not that far from us. Actually, I think Nikki's parents are closer than my mom. So we have to keep an eye on all that. And her parents, I just fouled that up. Her parents are getting older as well. I mean, all of us are getting older, right? Every day. But her dad is getting to be really kind of having some issues. So it's not fun. Unfortunate. Let me see if I can fix this. It's a little black. I feel like this is, I don't know what this is a hobby painter, there's a Army Painter hobby speed paintbrush, which is actually not too bad. But I need like I have some tiny brushes, but okay, I can fix that. I actually don't like leaning. I actually prefer to paint in this position, but I wish the desk were taller. So I'm actually on a stool, and the desk is higher, but not high enough for me to be like, you know, I want it closer to my face. It's much better for your back. Do I play Magic? I have not played in a long time, Mark, Andre. I love it. We had a good time with it. I never was the crazy collector that others were. I just was mostly, I mean, I bought some deck packs, and but I bought a lot of starter decks for like Nikki and I to play it, and we had fun with it. And I know people still just love the game. It's out there so much. And then there's the D&D stuff, which is kind of fun. But I just haven't had the time. Wow, that eye is not good. That one was bad. Yeah, I haven't actually probably played Magic for a very long time now that I think about it. Because it was really like the beginning of our... So we were, when I first bought some of that stuff, it was not at the beginning. I think it was later in the 90s when I played it for the first time. And we had a gaming group that started in 97. And it lasted for a little while. I mean, we still know a lot of those people, but we went to video games, and sort of a couple of the people, they still play games, but they mostly are video gamers, and we enjoyed that, but I don't know, we're kind of more focused. We liked, you know, deathmatch stuff. I was a huge fan of Quake Arena and Quake 2, and we had fun with those. And so everybody had like computers that they left here. We also, I mean, gosh darn it. We talked about how, I recently talked about how Nikki and I played some older video games that we played literally back then. So in the late 90s, early 2000s. And so we are definitely not serious. I have bought games. We've played some more modern games together. But we really like the social aspect of stuff, so we don't... I mean, we played Diablo and with others and stuff like that, but they moved on to that, and then we got back into games, and more so. And that might have been... I think we did not pick up Magic at that point again. Eesh. Eesh. This one I'm having troubles with. Now, so this one was rattle can, and I will tell you, you definitely lose some detail with the rattle can if you don't have it thin enough. And there is no keeping, you know, you have to apply it, and you have a lot less control over it, but it also obscures some details. I cleaned off something on one of Scott's minis, because he only primed the main stuff. He actually was smart and just got everything primed from that first box. And I did not do that. I should have, because I still have some. I think they might all be primed now, but that was only recently. But you can't really see it, but you can see the speckled nature of it. You know, the pixelated kind of. It looks good though, but it is a little bit thicker, and you tend to lose a little bit of detail. Not a ton, because I don't. Like when I was looking, I looked at the miniature where I was scraping something off, and it was like, what is this coming off? And look at that detail. What the, you know, and these don't have a lot of detail, don't get me wrong. They're not like the most amazing, I want to touch up that red. They're not the most amazing, amazingly detailed miniatures, but they're pretty nice. I thought I saw another spot, oh, right here on his shoulder. But you can see, you can touch up this stuff. I actually had, what did I see on here that oh, little tiny bit underneath his eye of the flesh tone came off. I will fix that when I get some flesh tone again. And you generally don't see it. I mean, you know, they're not the most detailed, so you're not going to necessarily notice it. Oh, you get it on the Magic. I mean, I could see why people play it. It's really intriguing. It's one of those things where I feel like I know that you can get your money back on some of those cards and things like that, but it's a money sink where I don't have the bandwidth to deal with it. And I'm also one of those people that never sells anything, because I'll give things away, but I don't like to sell it. The few times I've sold it, I feel like I ripped somebody off and I didn't like it. Shang-Chi has brown eyes, I guess. Let me zoom in on this here. Again, you can do what you want. These guys are great painters, though. Because, you know, you're looking at this zoomed in and you're like, wow. You zoom in on mine, it's not going to look that good. And, you know, you're like, oh, but there's some brushes. Well, brush strokes, yeah, well, these are still small. I can't really see it. I'm going to just assume it's brown. They actually have like a different shape on his eyes. And that could be just because of the touch-up, you know, like they did something. So brown eyes, and that means I'll probably use, should I just use a standard paint? I do have some brown tones in that. I haven't opened this yet. I did buy the full set, well, not full set. I bought the mega set of the War Paints Fanatic, and I will tell you they're pretty nice. So this is the darkest in this triad set, so you can do 4 triads, I guess, of it. Their paints are good. I don't think I had. I use their, I have this stuff here, the quick shades. I like those. A friend introduced me to them a long time ago. And I think, trying to remember if I had any other Army Painter stuff paint-wise. I don't think so. And I heard not so great things about their paints, but then this new wave, friends of mine, Adam, Uncle Adam works for Army Painter now, and he was saying how much he loved them, and which is awesome. So thing I do now, my biggest problem with these, I love eyedropper bottles. I think they're a little bit more manageable. Now I'm noticing bubble there, so I'm probably fine. But on the stream the other day, somebody recommended he taped the paper clip to a brush handle. I just drilled in a hole. So in the set I bought, these paints came with this standoff. They're rubber banded together, and it protected the bristles. So I just used that and put some pin viced a little bit of paper clip in there, and then you know, drilled it out and then super glued it in. And the reason why I do that now is because these paints I do not need much of it. I might actually I could have just got it off that thing I just did. These paint bottles, while they are great and you have some much more precise control over how much you get out of the bottle, if you're not careful, you should never really have to force paint out. That is your first tip. Because I was using this speed paint medium, which is the equivalent to the contrast medium for the speed paints, and I'm trying, and it was pushing. I'm like, I just used it not too long before, and it squirted out, like popped open the eyedropper and made a mess. And I used, like, poured out like at least a third of this, if not a half of it, which was wasted. I do have the more of it, so it's not a big deal, but it's just a bummer to waste that. And so poke through it, make sure you're not, make sure it's fully mixed, and then make sure that, so then they do give you 2 mixing balls in each bottle, which is really cool. Make sure they're not in the way. So if it's like, that's why you want to make sure it's cleared when you're pouring paint out, because if you're pressing, that could get stuck in the eyedropper and then squirt out all over the place. But yeah, I don't recommend buying full sets of paints normally, but I was really I didn't have a good orange, I didn't have a good yellow, had an okay yellow, but definitely not an orange, and other colors. I don't have a lot of purples, and they have okay amount. It's a little disappointing for me on this set that lots of blues and greens. I don't quite, and that's GW's stuff too. They have so many blues and greens, and I'm not really sure. Ugh, that was bad. Actually, I don't know. It's bad. I gotta clean that up. Too much paint. You also have to be really cautious about how much paint you have on your brush. And I wasn't cautious enough. Okay. Let that dry for a second. I'll do the other eye. You kind of have to, the good thing is you have more eye to work with to actually have the iris not be too massive, you know what I mean? Like, and you want it to not just be in the center of the eye, unless you're looking for that kind of crazed look or something like that. But you want to have it partly under the upper eyelid, is a common way to do it. Or if you're doing a, I don't know, horrifying look, you could do it where the lower eyelid has a good coverage of the eye, of the iris. So I don't paint the pupil. These are big enough that you could potentially do it, but what I do is I do the brown, the iris, and then I do a drop of white, like a little highlight. I should have got more brown out. Oh no, there's plenty of paint there. Probably for all of these. Okay, so I have the white. Let's see if I can get it fine. It's a little too big. Put some more brown over it. I did not put more water in the palette. I probably need it. I think I overcompensated with the white of the eye on that. There we go. If you're patient, I mean, it's not perfect still. Now the other thing is you can have both eyelids obscuring part of the iris. Yeah, the iris. If he's squinting his eyes or something like that. So, I have like the wettest darn white here. I do not understand what the problem is. Let me make sure it's thinned up. Because you definitely want the brush to, you don't want it to stick to your brush too much. And then you want to wick off a good amount of it before you put it on. That's why I'm like putting it on my fingers so I know where I'm at. It's not doing it. That's too much. Now that's more like what I want. Just a little speck of white. Darn it. Too timid here, but I don't want to keep redoing it, I'll tell you that. If I can just hold my hand still. Wow, that eye, I just cannot do it. I actually don't think the brush is doing me any favors. It feels like it's not the right point. I'm hearing planes flying around. That may mean that they're dropping water on the fire. Ugh. Oh, you know what? I'm trying to clean where I need to put some flesh tone under there. So I'm only making it worse. This brown seems okay though. I wish I was painting a larger area with it. I'm just gonna let that dry. Maybe put a little bit of white on that edge so the iris is not so massive in that eye. Yeah, he says as he starts to put the dry up. See, there's like, I think there's dry paint on the end of this. That is part of the problem. And I'm using the same brush for both standard acrylics and that's fine. I'm using it for the same brush for both standard acrylics and contrast paints, and that might not be good because I'm not using that much contrast paint though, so I guess that's not a problem. But what happens is I've noticed on the speed paints is it dries in the belly of the brush, like it on the middle of the belly of the brush is kind of like right here, and the paint like dries around it, and it actually kind of messes with the brush. I'm not sure why, where I don't have that much of a problem with the contrast paints. I also have to do his teeth. I think I need a finer brush. Do I have one out? I mean, I have some very fine brushes. Here's one. This one's like, is this another of the same kind of thing? No, it's a character brush, whatever the heck that is. So you can see this is even finer. This is 18-aught, so it won't hold a lot of paint. It'll dry really fast, but it might be what you need for doing something like this. Let me do this one. Oh, this one needs white, so let's do this one that actually has white on it. We'll try to do the brown. You definitely need an arsenal of brushes to really... Why did I just drop into what? I have water on the palette. Probably not enough paint now. Well, let me see. No, too faint. Just a tiny bit more of that brown. Right in the middle. I think this is like the only brown. The fur brown, kind of. But that's it. Because then I'm into basilisk red. I mean, these mixes, this is the reason why you just buy what you want. It has a good mix of stuff, but not like it does. It's missing one of the metallics I would like, for sure. It's a disappointment. I mean, they're always, I don't know. I honestly, unless you know you're really into it, you should buy like what you're interested in, you know, what you need for each miniature, and try to use those as often as you can. I swear the dentist we have, they're like, confirm that your appointment, we have an appointment on Thursday. I'm like, I have confirmed it already. So this is called a liner, which I don't know, you know, I mean, it's probably meant to do fine lines. I bought this ages ago at Michael's, which was probably pretty inexpensive. Yeah, this is a better brush to be doing this with. Sort of. I try not to use a brush for something that you don't want to, you know, that it's not good for. Number one, it beats up the brush when you don't need to. He looks kind of angry. It's funny, I end up doing like a side-eye thing on these all the time. Woof. So I don't know how great this one is either. It's like, it's got a longer bristle and it looks like it's paint related. What the heck? Let me clean that and put some white on it. Now I'm using white. You don't necessarily need to use a straight white for this. You can use a gray. I have a light gray that's pretty great for using as a white. Because in the absence of the pure white, it's going to look white. That's this bright neutral gray, and it does a pretty good job. Okay, so I need more brown to make. It's weird. You definitely get them looking like they have crossed eyes and stuff like that if you're not cautious. I mean, I'm being silly. This is a tremendous amount of time on these eyes. Too much. It's probably better that I do it off stream, but I will try here. That's not right. That's okay. Now for some white to do the one little dot. Let's see if I can do a better job with this one. I've done this with much larger brushes. I do not know what is going on here. That's fine. Not fine there. Too close to the white of the eye. Now, of course, in real life, that highlight could very much be there, but it doesn't look great on a miniature. Is that too wet? It sure is. What the heck? I thought I got enough of the paint out of there on the palette. Sure looked like it to me. But I am wrong. Lincoln, I don't know how you remember, I mentioned a while back I had sticky minifigures after painting, and your viewers gave me some advice. I clean my minis now with soap before painting, and I change paint brand. Instead of spraying my primer, I apply it with a brush. That's fantastic, Gina. I'm happy that that worked for you. There is no reason to not, especially if you're not using an airbrush, there's no reason to not just brush it on. I've done fantastic. I mean, I've had airbrushes forever, but I also have primed, because I haven't had an airbrush with me, I've primed minis with paintbrush, and it works great. You just want to make sure you use a primer for it, where it's going to be a little bit more adhere to the paint, to the miniature. But definitely washing the mini before you paint is an important thing. If there's any kind of, you know, they inject these into molds, and they put some like release inside there that that's good. They put some release inside there that gets on the mini, on the plastic, and you don't want that underneath the paint. It'll potentially knock the paint off. I'm very much into cleaning the mini. I generally do. I forget occasionally with these. Wash the minis with a toothbrush and soap in the sink, let them dry completely, then prime them. Phone keeps buzzing. Have to look. Okay, this needs white because he does not have any whites. Wow, man. Palisades area, we're not that close to Palisades. That is a bummer. Well, they have fires down there all the time. Malibu. Palisades is more towards Santa Monica. Actually, we know somebody that lives over there. not great. It is definitely drying just on the tip of the brush very quickly. So there's probably one bristle that maybe, they call them guide bristle, that is maybe getting, it sticks out a little bit further, and it's drying very quickly on it because I feel like I'm having this problem. And this is not the greatest of brushes, so I don't even feel like that doing a guide bristle on these is even necessary, but obviously in the design of them they are, particularly if it's got, this is not synthetic. Oops, popped it off the stand. So now we paint together. Fantastic, that's great. It's fun to paint with a partner. I had a lot of fun painting with Scott. That's fantastic. Got your son going. Well, that's my friend's dream. He wants his daughter to paint all of the stuff. I'm sorry, I missed the follow there. I'm such a bonehead. Thanks so much for the follow. Let me see if I can see what it was. It seems like it should be in my chat. Why am I not seeing it here? Weird, I don't know why that's not showing up. But thanks for the follow. I don't think you should ever go, particularly when you're doing something like this, from the palette directly to the mini. You really need to make sure you know how much paint is on the brush. Okay, that looks pretty good. His teeth are got some red on there. I do wish my friends, we had one friend that actually used to come over all the time to paint, and that was awesome. He was a very good painter and taught me a lot, sort of. Enough that it made me a better painter back then, for sure. This isn't actually a pointy enough needle. Oh my gosh. I had no idea where the bristle was, and there it is, really the worst. Okay. I didn't want it so low on the iris. That's pretty good. This one actually isn't quite as strong as I thought it was. Here, I'll do it a little bit more. Watch me mess it up. There we go. No, I didn't mess it up. Amazing. So let me do the teeth. Forgot all about the teeth. He's actually, I mean, you could probably go with, I mean, I'm painting them white. They don't necessarily need to be white, white. Fantastic. Yeah, my friend wants his daughter to paint, and I'm like, well, bring her over. I can help us get started. I have enough miniatures, and I know Daryl has enough miniatures too, that we could get her going. It's interesting, the lower teeth on this one don't... Now, this is a rattle can, so that could be why. The lower teeth aren't as prominent as the other two, so I will leave it at that. It does look like he has a chipped tooth, so I need to fix that. Cool, okay. So, the next thing I'm going to do, I have a lot of black on the palette. I should be able to do this, hopefully. It might be too wet. It seems to be hot, the absorption of the paint from the water into the paint. Let's do this one first. So I didn't paint, actually I didn't do that yet at all. So let's do, I generally do a gray scale kind of thing on the, there's a piece of cable that I might do a little metallic on. But I used the Basilicanum Gray for that. I'm running out of this, which is great. This is the bottle that I spilled, and it's not quite right. I painted a lot of paint on my thumb today. For not much painting. I did touch up a few things, but I mostly was painting the eyes and the teeth. Okay, let's use this to get some out of here. Probably more than I think I need, because I'm going to do all of them. So I used the Basilicanum Gray as a, if you notice, most of my bases are grayscale. And I put a little bit of color, like I put some metallic on this, but I prefer it because I like it to focus on the mini. Some people are like, you see the mini and you see the face, but I kind of like to focus on the face. That is probably not enough paint. I always think, oh, this is going to be too much. Actually, it probably could use a little bit more transparent of the contrast medium. Man, it is windy out there. I think it's supposed to be 2 days of wind too. So I believe this would be the Santa Ana winds, which blows from not offshore but the other direction. And it's frustrating. So it's already drying and gelling, so you definitely don't want to manipulate it too much. Now, it's the base, it's dirty, I don't worry about it. I use this holder where I have a piece of poster tack, although I believe this is actually a tack from red grass. I think I got it with one of the, I bought too many holders for those to try them out, which I'm silly. I buy too many of the same thing. I should try that out, see if I like that one. But I have bought other red grass stuff. I like their wet palettes a lot. I might actually have too much paint. Kind of interesting, I don't. I want a little bit more than I need, that's for sure. I don't think I painted the edge. You don't want it to be too deep of pooling of it. You can wick some of it off if your brush is not fully wet. Okay, can't touch the side of that one because I actually touched the edge, which I should be doing on this one too. Because I actually don't paint black up to the very edge of it. I like have the top be not black. That one's that one. I didn't do this one. Looks like I did this one though already, so I'll do one more though because it is a different kind of paint on the undercoat. I must have just done this one. I might have had enough paint from another base that I just did this mini. A hair on here, and I'm certain that's one of my hairs. Okay. Let those dry, and then I'll put some black on the edge. So it's kind of dried up it's getting close to the ferrule. You don't want the paint to get into the ferrule, but that was contrast medium, and it was kind of doing what the other one does. Maybe I don't have it as far up and it's just drying, like I'm not absorbing it as far into the brush, which you don't want. You don't want the paint to get to and you can see I've gotten it there a little bit. It dries and it makes the bristles spread apart. Okay, do I need gray on anything else? I know I was doing maybe another coat of this one. You definitely have a tendency to, when you're rattle can, you could put a lot on the highlight on the ground, which can be good. In this case, I want it to be more consistent with the other one, so I'm putting a second coat of this. The funny thing is like I did do my first kind of contrast paint before it was available. They explained what it was, and I was doing that. I used inks and paints and medium, and it was okay. It was kind of close. I think what it was, as I recall now, it was 2019. It was the I painted a Wingspan first player marker that we sell in the BGG store. I painted it for Deborah. They do auctions for, and they support a foundation that has a charity that is related to her husband. Her husband's issue is I can never say the name. It's chlorocoridemia or something. He is going blind slowly, losing his field of vision more and more. And they do charity work for that. And so we gave them 2 games that we played, maybe 3. I'm going to give them all the children's games that were nominated that year in 2019, which is a bummer because one of them I actually liked. And then, I mean, I could buy that. It did win. And the Wingspan. I don't know if we did Quacks. I don't think we did. We didn't have Quacks bits. But we had Wingspan bits in prototype. They looked exactly like they ended up being. So I think that Wingspan one sold for $200. It was pretty awesome. Although I don't know how expensive that game is. It's not cheap. So I usually start on the back and have the overlap there because that's where I run into problems, where it dries and I sometimes overdo it. It's a little too thin on the black, but you can do 2 coats. You can see it's already starting to dry. So I'm going to be cautious and not go over the previously painted one too much. Okay. These are not quite dry on the contrast, but it's fine. Contrast paint. So one thing that happens when you when it's a little too wet, the paint recedes from the edges. So you really don't want it to be too wet, but okay. Where do I put this? So I'm noticing I forgot. Basically, I actually paint up to where it's like chopped off. And if it's not, I'm following my own pattern here. Silly. Now this has the white rattle can undercoating, so it's probably doing a little bit of spreading on it, so I'll have to definitely do 2 coats on this. It's weird, it's kind of like spongy. Fortunately, this dries pretty quickly. I can do a second coat. Okay. So you can see this is already dry. Almost. I'm not going to paint it yet. You particularly have problems. I mean, you do not want to paint over anything, because what happens is it pulls the paint away and you've got a film, and then basically in the case of this, you'd have an oval that you tore the paint down to below. So you want to wait till that's dry. Hey, Circe, how you doing? Oof. We're getting close though, I think. What time is it? Oh, it's 12:33. I'll go a little bit longer. It is crazy windy out there. Let me look at the forecast. High wind warning. Doesn't really take me to the forecast. There we go. So till tomorrow. It's supposed to get really windy tonight. Wow. Well, who knows? Got to be careful. We don't generally do too much trekking around, so we should be okay. So that is dry. That dried that quickly. So put another bit on there. It feels like that just took the paint off, or is it just... No, it did. It's too thin. Let me put more black in there for the second coat. I think I'm gonna need more of this. It's going pretty quick. I would think the white would go faster. That's not true though. I almost certainly use more black than white. Out of focus, sorry. Oops. The wet palette, the little fidget popper palette definitely draws the focus sometimes. Hello. Hello. It's crazy how fast the regular paint is drying versus the contrast. Now I did put it on pretty heavily with the contrast. Hey, I got paint on his butt. Gosh darn it. Music's speeding up and speeding down, slowing down. Get a lot of paint on this brush, too much. Is that hair caught? Yeah, that's what the deal is. I think I had done that already. So that's 2 times on each one of those. That should be plenty. Wow, look at that. It's already dry. I'm going to let it dry a little longer. And maybe I will paint the... We're under snow today. Wow, what's in our agenda for the rest of the day? So today I have to edit an episode. I need this week's Game Night episode. I will edit myself. I would prefer to give it to Derek, but I just don't have the time to force it upon him to rush through it, because I only just got through proxying the... So we, one way that we handle the high resolution images that we, videos that we use is we run proxies where it's a smaller version, exactly the same not resolution, image and timing and everything, but it has smaller resolution, maybe a little bit of color depth drop or something. But you do the editing and then you render it again in high quality. And the way it works for Derek is I send him those low resolution files, he does the edit, then just sends me the project file back, and then I'm able to render it. But you still have to do it because of the high resolution, I have to do it at home, which isn't ideal, I will tell you, because there is one camera angle, I think camera 3 is a pretty heavy reduced image in that, because I do everything in the same level of resolution, and it's not... Derek has a little bit of trouble. Now, of course, I saw the game, so I know more like what's going on with it, potentially. But he... was... just for this amount of time, we filmed yesterday, and then I got it proxied and finished this morning, and I have to actually build the projects. So I have a couple other projects I'll send him, and then I'll do these, the remaining 2 of these that we filmed yesterday. So it should be good. But yeah, we are very windy here. We don't have snow, but we have tremendous winds going on right now. Very crazy. The blacks can go back, or no, the gray, the Basilicanum gray. And Black Templar, I'll use the Black Templar. I don't know where I'm at on that. I hope I might need more of that one. That's another one I use a lot. I use Basilicanum gray and Black Legion. We're definitely trying to film some more stuff. We need to film a lot. Deborah will be leaving for a while for the next season of the show. So we want to film some that we can have in the can, and then put out over time while she's away. Okay, we need to use a paint holder. I do not want to spill this. I'm going to go straight from the bottle. This is one paint I use a lot. Straight, still quite a bit of paint left in there. That I use a lot straight from the bottle. Let me clean the brush though, just to make sure. Okay, I'm basically cleaning it like I'm going to be doing it again, but I want to get it out of the bristles because it was a standard acrylic, which is definitely thicker and invasive there. Okay, do I have somebody on the stand? This guy is the driest. I paint pretty fast and it's still dry by the time I get around. It's crazy. Okay. Seems like very brushy on that last bit. I don't get it. Maybe because I'm trying to go more towards the middle because I'm starting too far around the edge. Oof. Looks cool. That one looks good. That's the all primed with. Did Link get suckered into this? I did get this. I did get suckered in. I was thinking I was only gonna do the base thing, and I ended up buying the whole darn thing again. I'm really hoping they're done with the animated stuff or the comic stuff. I really would love them to do Star Wars. They probably won't, but I bought it all. It'll come in eventually. And if so, was it all in? Yeah, it was definitely all in. I'm crazy. So they're not giving us. They're like doing like 50% of the minis with the fully painted like images to just show you. I like having that as reference. It's important to me. And they are not doing them all. And they have the book that they included. And I don't know that the book is going to have the photos. I can't imagine it will. That seems like a pretty big book if it is. But wow, it is really windy out there. So I don't know. I really want them to do Star Wars. I think they'd be fun. I mean, Star Wars is more up my alley than the comic stuff. Although, I mean, I love it. The funny thing is, I'm always been more of a Batman guy than Marvel, but I've had so much fun with the Marvel stuff. Particularly the movies have been so fun for the most part. And I did not read the comics. I read some, but mostly I'm a DC person. I read. Mostly, I buy the compiled run of the stuff. So I read The Dark Knight and I read Watchmen and stuff like that, and I really liked those. Mostly Batman. The Watchmen was an anomaly for me, but it was, supposed to be great, and it is. And I really enjoyed it. Well, I've got paint all over my hands. But I bought about half of it, but my painting backlog is now twice as big as my done list. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat as you, Yoggington. I mean, really bad. Now, as you see here, I'm painting 3. So I've started painting Scott's and my friend Dan's and my minis. I was teasing Brian. I'm like, you might as well bring him up. I think he wants to paint them. He and his daughter were having fun painting them, so I hope they actually do pick it up. But I mean, I will be painting them. The problem is I'm looking at hundreds of minis above me, hundreds and hundreds of minis from Games Workshop, which I want to get back to painting some of those. But like my goal is to be done with the first wave of Marvel soon, very soon, hopefully before the end of January, and then get started on probably doing the multiverse box, first one, maybe, and then go back and then get to the X-Men again. I've already started the X-Men for myself, just some, in the hopes that we would do it on Game Night, and we did not. I'm hoping we'll do the multiverse one. Would be great. I hope. I can never remember the character's name. It's It's Captain Britain, right? Is that right? It seems like it's not Captain America. Anyway, the Peggy character. I want to do that one, and so that was actually I was going to be good and not buy the full Marvel United, and I don't think that's in the main box because I think I was like, oh man, I have to buy something else to get that, and then I ended up going down that road and buying them all. You know, and there are more and more minis, and they're massive. I mean, look at some of these giant ones. These are the. I don't think these are actually part of that set. I cannot remember. But you know, these are pretty darn big. Look at this. You know, compared to this, it's, you know, it's big. I mean, it's horse, or it's, you know, on mounts. But I want to paint these too, but good gosh, this is going to be a lot. And I need to do them. I'm going to do all of them at the same time, so it's going to be horrifying. Captain Britain, okay, I guess. Oh, it's Captain Carter. Yeah. That's what it is, Captain Carter. And I love that mini. I was like, oh, crud. So I bought it, and I will buy... I hope there's no more DC. I feel like, as much as I'm more of a DC person, I knew so few of those characters. And again, I was mostly like Batman. And when they end up putting out all the ones, you know, they had an Arkham Asylum one. I'm like, oh, this is it. Let me switch. I'm pretty much done here. But I really would love a Star Wars one. I don't know that they'll be able to do it, but one set, one wave would be cool. And there's a lot of characters. We'll see. I know that. I mean, so we know Eric, but Eric is not working on that stuff anymore. I believe the other designer's mostly doing it. And he was the guy that was the lore guy, you know, like the comics and stuff. So Eric was the game mechanics and some of the comic stuff. But, gosh, what is his name? The other guy. Chiarvesio, or whatever is the last name, but Miguel, maybe? And I would like to see the Star Wars stuff. I just don't know. I mean, they're doing it with Spin Master, so Spin Master has access to all of those things. Andrea Chiarvesio. There we go. I would love to see them do that, but I just don't know that they can. But I would back that, and that has to be it. I just cannot. I have so many minis, and you know, then there's minis in games. I'm not even counting all the stuff in games. I did not finish I painted a bunch of the Jurassic World Legend of the Legacy of Isla Nublar that we did, and I want to paint those. I don't know if we actually we did not finish it, actually. We stopped at 5, so I want to finish that. I was painting them before you reveal the mini when we open the box. I just want to get Nikki and a friend. We'll do it, the 3 of us, and I'll paint those up, and I'll be done with that. And that's got to be another 6 minis or 7 minis, but I need to finish that. Not to tempt you anymore, but there is an excellent looking Teenage United. What? Oh, fan made with cards you can print and 3D models. What the heck? I need to look into. Where's that at, Yoggington? you definitely. I mean, I love that. I think these things are fun, and I really, as I said, I was into the Super Dungeon Explorer stuff. I thought those are fun too, and I have maybe painted a few of those, but I don't recall now. And then I've got like another set of those, a big box of them that I bought at the flea market. So I have also, not only do I have that, I have Starcadia Quest. Scott, at one of the BGG Con library parties that we do, where you're prepping the games for the convention, he's like, hey Lincoln, do you want this, like the full Starcadia Quest? And hilariously, it wasn't the full, it was close. And so me with my semi-obsessive compulsive disorder thing, I ended up ordering the remaining sets. And I don't need them, but I love them because they'll be fun because I don't have colors that I can do what I want and have some fun with it. And I probably will. I mean, I love this. I just like that when you use the images that they provide of the painted minis. I cut to the other thing. What the heck am I doing? There we go. But yeah, what did I do? I must have hit that button again. It might have been lagged. But I like being able to just go and do it. But I'm capable enough now to, I mean, I always have been for a long time, to just do my own color schemes. And so I want to do this Starcadia Quest. So that's another probably 70 or something minis. Yeah, it's too much. And Starcadia Quest was another Eric Lane game. He also did Arcadia Quest, which I did not back. Scott backed that. And you know, they don't get painted. And I would love to do, I mean, I would love to. I have a good chunk of the Marvel Zombicide one, or Marvel Zombies, that I wasn't buying. I didn't back it. I was going to just buy the box set, and I did. And I think because Scott, he gave me 2 or 3 boxes of that stuff, and I think I gave the small box to the library because they don't need it. Because, you know, you could get like a $25 one with 10 minis or something like that. Which is all most people really need. You do not need all these. It's just fun. I'm a weirdo. It's on BGG, huh? Deep in the forums. Lots of cool models. Oh, wow. I mean, I have 3D printers right next to me here. I would love to experiment with that. I saw some at, what is it called? Miniature. I was subscribed to their stuff for a while, but it just was giving me so many 3D models with good things that I just don't need. But they had a kind of a hybridization between 40K and pop culture. And the thing that got me was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles van with like orcs. And then, I mean, they're mostly orcs. And there's like a Back to the Future DeLorean with orcs. And what was the other thing? There was one other vehicle that I was like, oh, and then I looked at all of them. I'm like, man, I want to back this stuff. And they were all on sale for, like, you can get on the you know, essentially their Patreon. And I thought about it, and I'm like, I don't need this. I just don't need it. I am looking at, that's gotta be 2, 4, I don't know, too many minis right here that are out of the box, stuff that I have to paint for Scott. And then I have a pile, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Probably 15 or at least 20 of the Warhammer Underworlds expansions that I have to paint. And I now have Scott's too to paint. I was doing, I mean, I have his right here, but he's like, just take it all. And so he's like, I'm never going to get to it. I'm like, okay. And it's just more to paint. I'm really being resistant. As much as I love some of the stuff that GW keeps doing, I'm not buying it. Gotta be hard. And then this stuff that people are making, it's so much fun. There's so many great sculptors out there. I did back like a, gosh darn it, they're not called, they're tribes is what they're called on Miniature Factory. My Mini Factory, I think is the name of it. And somebody did a Necrony kind of thing that was, you know, it's not as intensely detailed as the stuff from GW. And I backed it for like a year, and then he changed what he was doing, and that was fine. I was like, okay, I'm done. And I was really thinking about these ones, and they were on sale for 40% off anyway, so they would have been, like, they're like $15 for the model, which isn't bad, and if you get 40% off, that's pretty phenomenal. But here's what'll happen. I'll have those digital files, and I'll never print them out, or I'll print one out, and it's just not worth it. I'm not an OCD collector really, but I kind of am, where I still haven't, I haven't seen the notification for the Marvel United Witching Hour or whatever it is that they've got coming with Agatha and some redos. Like they've got Grey Hulk in plastic color, right? Which I don't need. I have, but I'll buy it because then I don't need to have a Grey Hulk to do one, because I do have the promo cards, and those come in the box. And I bet you that's like $35. But I will buy that. And then that's hopefully it for the Marvel United stuff. I'm so crazy. But yeah, anyway, thanks everybody for chatting. Hey Toronto Scope, did you complete it? Yes, I'm just wrapping it up. I finished Shang-Chi. It's mostly done here. I have 3 of them done. Where's the other guy? Is he on the... Nope, he's not. He's right here. Let me cut back to the table. There we always forget to do this. So yeah, here's Shang-Chi. It turned out pretty good. This is the one that's Rattle Can Prime by Scott, and then these 2 I airbrushed. And they look cool. I like the bright. I like the subdued as well. But they're cool, and I'm excited. I need to... I really wish I spent more time talking than actually doing this today. Not entirely. I spent a lot of time on the eyes. But I did fix the 2 that broke. I glued this one back in place with super glue, and it seems... But look how thin her ankles are. So this popped out in the shipping, and then Luke Cage popped out. I mostly got him back in there. It seems like... Is it this one? I don't know. Oh no, it might have been the other guy. So I broke Baron Zemo last week, which was a real bummer. But I glued him back in, and his ankle, which is here... Oh, I gotta cut again. Keep showing stuff. His ankle was broken right here. Let me put the glass on. Let me see really close, because I want to see how that looks. And it turned out okay. Yeah, I can't even really see it. You can see it right here a little bit. I could probably touch that up and you wouldn't see it at all. So that was a disappointment. Hey, look at that. Somehow I got black paint on his finger. See, this is the problem of having minis anywhere near your desktop. So I'm going to probably have to touch that up, because that's going to bother me. Although maybe not. I won't worry about it. I'm going to paint 2 more of these. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll only have to paint 1. I don't know if Scott's is still here. Let's see. Nope, he's here. So I have to paint 2 more of these, which will be fun. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Let's see if there's somebody to raid. It might be, since it's Tuesday, it might be Amanda. Hey, you have a good one too, Yoggington. Thanks for the chat. So let me get to the actual control here for... I don't see it. It's got to be here somewhere. Twitch. There we go. We definitely... I've been having fun. I do wish I could paint more. I would love it. Loozapalooza's on. Maybe we'll go see. What are they playing? It's cold. It's wet. He is playing... I think Loozapalooza is it. So say hi to Dave for me. They were talking about coming. They'll be coming to the States. Maybe we'll get to hang out, meet him or something. Because I've talked with him briefly at Essen. Wow, why didn't that load? Did I hit back? Cool. He is playing Cascadia on Steam. Okay, cool. So say hi for me, everybody, and have a... thanks for watching, Cardboard Conjurer. Thanks for watching, absolutely. You guys take care, and I will see you. So Thursday, Nikki and I will be back. We are going to stream a 2-player game, we think, that we want to film as a game night, date night. So if you can join us then, that'd be great. Everybody take care. We'll get the YouTube, the Twitch folks just go to the raid, and then YouTube folks I'll say goodbye to at the end. But yeah, Nikki's going to learn that game, and then we're going to do it. So here's the raid. Say hi to Dave on Twitch for me, everybody, and have a good one. And I'll talk to you later. And then let's go to the YouTube people. Oh, man. Wow, party of 4. Well, okay. So YouTube folks, anyway, you guys, thank you. Let's see here. Let's go to the stream. I don't have these. Oh, there we go. Okay, YouTube folks, take care. What I cut to the dang thing. I am not doing a good job today. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Thanks for all the chat on YouTube. You guys take care and have a great one. Hope to see you again soon. Bye, everybody.